What we haven't discussed about the emails is that so many of them reference one place, that being Comet Ping Pong. Comet Ping Pong is a pizza place that has ping pong and at the surface is no more than that. It's in Washington, D.C. and is run by a fellow who I refuse to call a man named James Alefantis. Ostensibly, Alefantis is a local pizza shop owner, as well as an art gallery owner and founder of several other restaurants. But for most, that's the pinnacle of James Alefantis in this story. He owned the shop that was unfortunately the scene of a ridiculous conspiracy theory, which is how everyone sounds to me when they use that term. But what we get out of this is that everyone should feel really bad for this Alefantis guy and look no further. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is nowhere near where the story begins or ends for James Alefantis. The more astute might notice some things that are off about him. Firstly, for a pizza shop owner, he has some incredibly powerful friends. Viewing his Instagram, we find photos of personal letters from Hillary Clinton, photos from campaign rallies, photos of Obama playing ping pong with a child, presumably taken by Alefantis, followed by a series of images which show Alefantis and Podesta, including one where Alefantis is holding a pizza pool floaty with, oh yeah, of all things, a creepy silhouette of a female behind the two of them. But that is simply the beginning. This allegedly humble pizza shop owner has an Instagram full of depraved crap. I'm going to warn you, there is an archive of it online, if you can find it, from before James privated it in the days after the scandal erupted, and on there you will find literal graphic images, like actual on his Instagram, as well as people engaged in various sexual acts on pizza or utilizing pizza. His Instagram also then contains weird, creepy, and in some cases downright disturbing photos of children, like the one of Obama playing ping pong with a child in the White House while people watch in what looks like some weird basement. But far more questionable is the photo of a little girl James alleges to be his niece, with the top half of her sprawled out on top of a ping pong table that he has taped her hands to. Mind you, this girl, her face is blurred, but she's no more than 5 years old, if that. And I'm not sure how anyone can defend that it's harmless play, as I've seen posted online, especially considering the caption is #chickenlover, which is seen several times across his Instagram and is an unmistakable sign of something being awry, considering it's a known term for acts and tendencies. And combining that with naked photos of males and females, some of which I believe are him, with pizza covering their genitals, one has to wonder many things. One, how did he not get banned from Instagram for this? And two, and much more importantly, why is this guy posting this? A guy who's close friends with seemingly everyone connected to these emails? And he's the guy who owns the restaurant that all these people rumored to be tied up in a deplorable ring are all referencing as the best pizza joint in the spot to visit? I have never nor will ever believe in coincidences. There's a rhyme and a reason to all things. So now with so many tally marks in favor of organized child trafficking and exploitation cult, one has to wonder what's going on here. And I'll theorize more later because I will remain facts focused. But without even diving into his Instagram posts, which I can't show on here, so we can't dive into, we should take a gander though at his profile picture, which appears to be a statue of a man from long, long ago. And that would be correct, but it's not just any man. Reverse image searching, one may find that it's actually a statue of Antinous. And Antinous, I didn't know and you might not know, is the little boy that essentially served as Hadrian's slave. Historians, for whatever reason, like to call him Hadrian's lover, but considering they met when Antinous was 12, I'm not going to stoop so low as them, as that would be implying consent could be given, which, as we've been over, children cannot give consent for such acts. So the short of that story is that basically the entire life from preteen to death, Antinous was by Hadrian. He died at age 18 or 19 via drowning, which many suspect was done at Hadrian's behest, possibly even by Hadrian himself, when either Antinous disobeyed him or for some devilish occult ritual. Hadrian is known as one of Rome's good emperors, by the way, which really says something. And this relationship was so evil that Hadrian used the death of this little boy and created an entirely new cult around his dead little boy that he for almost a decade. And in this cult, Hadrian made Antinous a quote-unquote god. And I'll just let you fill in the blanks on how you think this cult worshipped their quote god. Seems like the one Roman figure you wouldn't want to have as your profile picture when being heavily suspected and investigated for dealing in children and handing them out to wealthy and powerful individuals who come to you to them, or for material about that activity. And you know, exactly the same situation that happened to the guy we just discussed in your profile picture. Definitely just a coincidence though, right guys? All these in mind, the number of similarities I'm noticing between Epstein and Alefantis is disturbing. The child infatuation, erotic imagery for the public to see, powerful connections to politicians and the most wealthy people in America, something else is going on here. And we get another sign of what that something else may be in a GQ magazine 2012 edition that cites the 50 most powerful people in Washington. And if you had to guess, in a place where senators, representatives, lobbyists, billionaires, and even the president resides, who do you think made it onto that list, coming in at number 49? You guessed it, our humble pizza purveyor, James Alefantis. So then what makes him so powerful if he only owns a small handful of restaurants and what is referred to as a small art gallery? And the only clear sign as to what that power could be for me is his obvious connection to the most powerful people in Washington, D.C. and in America. For those spooks though in the comments, before writing something vaguely pretentious and annoying, be helpful. Find me another reason he's on that list if he owns just a few restaurants and a small art gallery. I bet you can't. So speaking of powerful people in Washington, another source for Alefantis' power would be his well-known physical relationship and romantic relationship with a man, and not just any man, but David Brock, the founder of what people and organizations both on the left and right consider to be a hard left media watchdog organization, named Media Matters. The purpose of this organization ostensibly is to monitor what they refer to as false narratives coming from the right-leaning news media sources, as well as make some of their own content. And it's obviously not very difficult to see, looking at Snopes and other mainstream media and fact-checkers, that it's pretty common for these organizations to be used to block or reduce the spread of news stories that harm your side's candidates. And it's sort of like shooting out flares in a fighter jet when a heat-seeking missile is launched at you. The missile tracks onto the other heat sources and then just flies away. It's the same thing here, except Media Matters publishes articles or influences others to publish articles to throw investigators off the scent. So suffice it to say, it's fair to suggest that it had a pretty considerable role to play in the current perspective that many have on the Gate. That being that it is a far-right conspiracy theory meant to harm Hillary Clinton's campaign. But let's take a closer look at Media Matters and see if it too has a trail of corruption like so many discussed today. And even Wikipedia, of all places, has to admit something is off at least slightly considering the Media Matters institution, because they are currently being sued for publishing defaming and fake media, are being investigated by the Attorney General of Texas for potentially fraudulent activity and to ensure that the public has not been deceived, and alongside him the Missouri Attorney General is doing the same. So suffice it to say, Media Matters is not exactly the creme de la creme, but is nonetheless an organization that does have influence, releasing studies on other orgs and sort of acting like a stamp of approval for what is liked and disliked and approved and disproved, and what we should consider news and not news. And funny enough, funding for this organization has come from other hugely powerful politicians and wealthy individuals and groups, like George Soros, everyone's favorite economy destroyer, or Bill Clinton, who actually gave them the office space to start the organization. Wow, how generous. And guess where that office space was located? In another think tank known as the Center for American Progress, which think tanks are total baloney, but that's neither here nor there right now. The important thing to know is that one specific fellow started that other think tank, and his name is John Podesta, the lad whose name appears thousands of times in the assumedly child-related emails, and the brother of the dude who has the CP art. So now with Bill and Hillary and the Podestas appearing once more, seems like in a very long way, we have a circle of familiar faces and names forming. And it's a circle I certainly believe is worth looking more into, although undoubtedly the more you look, the more you will find that the circle continues to expand. But as for Alefantis, you don't even have to look that hard to know this guy's up to no good. He posts an image of selling children on his Instagram, so if that doesn't warrant an investigation, nothing will. Back to the pizza place itself though, Comet Ping Pong, it should serve as no surprise that the weirdness is not kept merely to the confines of Alefantis Instagram. There are all sorts of things wrong with this joint. Normally I don't get too much into symbology because it's often full of schizo posting, unless it's just dead obvious, but in this case, it really is, and there's too much at play, especially considering the FBI released all the PDF file imagery we need to start making connections, and showed us that even shapes which share similarity to the ones they gave can be related. So I'll go rapid fire for this as best I can. The menus in Comet Ping Pong show 2 ping pong paddles, and initially this is nothing to be concerned with in and of itself, but upon a second glance they heavily resemble the child lover image from the FBI to be on the lookout for, or to be on the lookout for anything related or similar. But that's by far the least disturbing and incriminating thing here. The murals of Comet Ping Pong rival Tony Podesta's art for weirdness, depicting adults, most of whom are wearing no clothes, parading children and or the heads of children around, along with bizarre creatures enclosed in an embrace in the background. Not sure how you're supposed to play ping pong looking at that, but I will add that one of these humanoids appears to be wearing a crown. Make of that power dynamic what you shall. The bathrooms are also littered in pornographic graffiti, which was either a stylistic choice from Alefantis, and he had it created this way, or he just left it up because he liked it. The musical acts that Comet Pizza advertises for and hosts at their venue also go beyond what one might anticipate if this were merely some random theory. For instance, one of the groups that performs in Comet Pizza is named Heavy Breathing, and the other is named Stains. So we are already not off to a great start here, as it's not exactly the people I would normally anticipate to be performing at a pizza joint. But it goes further. In one of these songs, there is a scene where 2 characters discuss, you guessed it, the song is by Heavy Breathing and it's named I Know Love. The music video somehow on YouTube contains direct imagery of a nude female and other disgusting and perverted imagery, as well as this little gem of dialogue. The character on the left is named Bram72. Hey, do you ever go to house shows? And on the right, the character Majestic Ape 29 says, huh? Gross, ... What are you, a There's actually a whole rabbit hole where people believe this majestic ape fellow is actually James Alefantis. But we don't have that sort of time to go down there. Comment if you're interested in that. Nonetheless, let's go further to the other band named Stains. They have a song named Land of La La that has plenty of sexual material of its own and the thematic design of an MK Ultra victim's nightmares, but the astute noticed something I cannot take credit for because I can't make it through the video without becoming ill. But what others who did make it through noticed is that a symbol on this box in the background directly resembles the one the FBI warned us means boy lover and tells us to be on the lookout for any variant of it, and it appears not only once in this video but can be seen throughout the entirety of the video at various intervals. Hard to convince me that something that looks so similar was purely coincidental, but let's move on. The evidence goes well beyond the images alone. There is a video that implies the darkest things imaginable are taking place at Comet Ping Pong or nearby. Uploaded in the early days of YouTube, March 26 of 2007, this video is entitled Ping Pong in a Public Place, with just under 360,000 views as of the time of writing. It is critically underwatched. Be forewarned, you are only going to see two blokes playing ping pong and cars driving by, but it's not what you see that raises hairs. Instead, it's what you hear. Listen closely. Not typically the place you'd expect to find children at night. Yes, this is a pizza joint, but it's also a bar, so the vast majority of the customers are drinking. So a child being there at night is kind of odd in and of itself, especially outside, seemingly alone. Well, or I should say without parents. But a child being there and begging for help is an entirely different kind of sign. There is no other way to take it. These are evidently screams of fear, a child begging for help, and at one point she says what I think is, "Daddy, help me." But if I were to wager, no one came to save her. But what makes this even more disturbing is that I have a lot of evidence that suggests that there are missing children directly connected to this place and to the people involved, but we will get into that later. As of now though, this is just another sign that something afoul is running amok. And if this really is what we suspect we just heard on that camera, then God, please hold that child near to you and your son Jesus for all time. But even stranger and somewhat ironic is that there's another restaurant vaguely connected about a block down from Comet Pizza that also sells pizza, which does have a basement, and the restaurant's name is Besta Pizza, and has a logo that nearly identically matches some of the symbols that are given to us from the FBI. A logo that this Besta Pizza changed right when the gate first broke. And there's also another joint named Beyond Borders across the street that matches almost exactly that of the Girl Lover logo from the FBI. Just worth note. It's hard to convince me that anyone can believe all these are coincidences, so I have a magnificent piece of riverside property I would just really like to sell you in the nether. Boy, I could cook on Comet Ping Pong for hours, from the rumors and images of a basement freezer to the countless other posts we didn't get to, but there is nonetheless something else we need to discuss, so what we first must cover are the rumors of a server being hosted from a back room in Comet Ping Pong, or what one might suspect are rumors until we learn a little bit more. To most, these servers are complete speculation and are denied by the mainstream media or not even brought up, but as we discussed later with Edgar, it is allegedly one of the things that motivated him to conduct the quote-unquote shooting. So there's a lot riding on this part of the story, and it's very interesting what happens. But I'll quit the yap. This begins with the disturbing account of a single man who, in the wake of the gate and the emails breaking, decided to take it upon himself to pry open the case a bit further for us to see what we could get at. And while poking around the Comet Pizza website, he stumbled into what essentially amounts to the back rooms. It was this bizarre webpage that had a chart which listed a series of files, their sizes most of which appear to be very large, video size large, the date, the tag, a section to input the DL key, or download key I presume, and a button to download. Now, as you can see from the screen, this technically inclined individual has uncovered a members private area on the Comet Ping Pong site, and in no world should there even be a private members area on a pizza website. But brushing that aside for a moment, the notion that there are dozens of encrypted video-sized files hosted on the Comet Pizza Ping Pong website makes no sense. And rather humorously, I heard one individual try and write it away as security camera footage, but one, then it would have been labeled for the camera and the date, and two, it wouldn't be hosted on the website with encryption keys. That's so silly. So what else could be going on here then? Except the absolute worst things possible, and much like Epstein, everything that is alleged to have gone on is being recorded and perhaps is even out there to be downloaded by those in the know for their viewing pleasure. Furthermore, the site is /was evidently being monitored because the following day the password was changed and new obstacles were placed to prevent anyone from seeing this. So for us today, the site's page no longer exists when you look up Comet Pizza online, and when you look at the Wayback Machine, the best we can get is a password protected page. This one, as far as we are aware, we can't even find today. All of this to say that someone is clearly actively involved to keep this hidden. For now though, we have to take a different turn, so please keep this server and this strange, bizarre, download-filled website in mind.